Hello everybody. Looks like it's going to be cheap aggro versus cheap aggro. And what is the land that I have to play? I think I have to play this one that lets me put out a card now. It's going to take some... I've put in a few Sheevan Reeves, and I'm sort of going against my own type in a couple of different ways with the way this deck is constructed. We'll cover that as we go. Mono red aggro, they're going to empty their hand as soon as they can. Cannot blame them, we're used to this type of stuff from them. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Phoenix Chick now. And Restless Fire. Ouch. You don't normally see red taking this long to think about things. Anyway, let's try for something that can block and maybe survive. I don't know, I don't feel like we're going to block this. I feel like they can kind of get us. They're very unafraid. Okay, so they don't do anything. They save their ammo for next time. Or do they? What are you going to do? Okay, they do. Excellent. So we'll put that down. We'll put down... No, that was not what I thought it was. Never mind. I messed up big time. I'm going to pass. Well, I guess that's okay because it keeps it for flashback. Otherwise, because Ruth, you don't draw anymore. You exile the top two cards of your library. So we were going to lose that to the exile zone if we didn't cast it. This way, it goes into our graveyard and we get the flashback of it. I guess we negate that now. We just double negate the same spell. It looks like they got tired of waiting for us. Man, we got a lot of land. Okay, we're gonna pass the turn. We can't really do a lot. They're flooding out just as much as we are. And now I'm going to count on the fact that whatever they've been saving up, we've still got enough to beat them here. They could take out a couple of ours, right? Were they bluffing the whole time? It's terrible. Well, in the meantime, I can use this thing, right? We'll go ahead and attack for 5 finally, and we get to scry. I think it's okay to use Restless Impulse. And we've got a chump blocker. We just have to worry about flying hasters and stuff like that. Okay, this is all well and good. We'll use Reckless Impulse. Pumps up both of our dwarves. It gives us stuff that we can cast. And we can go ahead and get rid of one of these now. And we're just going all in. We've got trample, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, 19 points in one shot. And we beat mono red aggro. Which was kind of the point of the deck. Because I keep coming up against it more and more. It's very strange to me. I would think as time went on, and we were in regular play, not in ranked, I expect to see more mono red aggro in ranked. But when you're in regular, You know, it's like, why bother? Because it seems to get boring and repetitive to me after a while to play with the same mono red aggro deck. It could just be that I'm the different personality type. Birds, Dwarves, and Monks is the name of the deck. My name is Travis. Welcome to Tpull's Corner. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. If you're new or old and returning, please like the broadcast. Just click the little like button. This is a nice little red and blue deck. I didn't want to make yet another red aggro deck. I've done just a couple of them. I can't get behind them too much. I have learned that it's very gratifying to empty your hand on a certain turn and do lethal damage, or at least empty your hand and have all your weapons, be able to actually cast all your spells. You're not land starved for a change, right? So you're not hoarding onto stuff, and you're not holding spells that you so desperately hoped to be able to play before your enemy scooped. You actually, a lot of times, you get to empty your hand and actually cast your spells. So there's a certain gratification that comes from that. This one, I think, is probably a little bit different from what a lot of other people do, but I'm assuming there's some similarities. So here's what I've got. You've got 4 considers. I think this is standard. You draw a card, you surveil one, draw a card. If you need land, you put land up top. If you need an instant or a creature, whatever you need, you should be able to hit something. We've got the 4 standard Monastery Swift Spears that belong in almost every mono red aggro deck. Monstrous Rage is the newest from Eldraine that sort of has taken over as the instant of choice, because it gives you the +1/+1 and trample. And trample's very key. So I'm not sure if Wizards really understood what kind of benefit they were doing to give trample in this manner on a 1-drop, a 1 red cost spell. But it is taken over in mono red decks. Also, play with fire is perennial. It's always there. That's kind of standard. I put in 4 negates. I don't know how many people do that in the red and blue decks. But I think there's only so many creatures here, right? We've got 15 creatures. It's not a ton of creatures. It's not like we overloaded with creatures. But 1.7 average mana cost, and how many lands did I settle on? 21 lands. So I'm 3 lands shy of the standard, because we're just so cheap, right? There's almost everything we've got is just 1 or 2 mana costing, and we've got a total of 5 spells that cost 3. I've got 1 Abrade, so we can deal with artifacts maybe. We've got 4 Electrostatic Infantry, which is very common to see. It's not as common as Monastery Swift Sphere. You see the Swift Spheres, and I'm already starting to slur the pronunciation of that. Swift Spears. Say that 3 times fast. But Electrostatic Infantry is like a close second, maybe a kissing cousin. So these are the monks, and these are the dwarves, and the birds are the Balmor Battle Mage Captain. They're legendary, so you can only have 1 out at a time. But whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, all creatures you control get +1 and gain trample. So there's the trample again, and it's very key. And instead of just Swift Sphere getting 1 or Electrostatic Infantry getting a counter, every creature gets +1. So if you do manage to get a front line that stays around for a while, that's really handy. We've also got 1 other creature at the 2 drops with Third Path Iconoclast, and I've put this in decks where you've had 4 copies of them, and you just go wide and create just a ton of soldier artifact creature tokens and swarm. That's one way you can do things. I just have 1 copy in there, just to mix it up and have some fun and some variation in the creatures. And then Galvanic Iteration. This is an older spell from way back in the Innistrad expansions. And when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, you just copy it. And because red is so fast at doing damage, if you happen to have one of these in your hand, maybe your opponent's down to just 4 damage, and you can just zap them from afar and double it up real quick. But it's got flashback, so you can bring it back and use it again. So there's extra value there as well. For other interaction, we've got Volt Charge that deals 3 damage to any target. The any target's kind of key because you can target planeswalkers, creatures, or if you are ready to zap them in the face, you can zap them in the face. And the Proliferate is very key here because you can end up with a number of counters on Electrostatic Infantry, right? So Volt Charge and Electrostatic Infantry, if you can get that combo going, just add on an extra counter or 2 if you're using the Volt Charge while they're present. And eke out a little bit extra value from this particular damage card as opposed to another 3 cost. And finally, Aerith Tormented Prophet. I've had fun with Aeroth before. You'd probably have to go back a year or two when I last made a deck with her. But I always enjoy using her. If you draw a card, you exile the top 2 cards of your library instead. You may play those cards this turn. The way this deck is playing against type is through a number of things. One of which is the way that I use Aeroth, because when I see these cards, my brain wants to go big. I want to use the biggest, boldest spells, and Aeroth actually doesn't work best that way, right? Because you're going to probably lose a lot of your spells if you just overstack it with more powerful things. But in a deck like this, where it only costs you 1 or 2 mana usually to cast something, you should have good odds whatever you exile you're going to be able to use more often than not. So very useful in this context. The other reason it's against type is I'm actually using Pain Lands, Shivan Reef, to make sure. I'm usually the opposite. I usually use a ton of double lands like Storm-Carved Coast that you have to enter tapped unless there's a certain condition met, or you just have to enter it tapped. And I'll usually only have like 6 or 8 basic lands in a deck. Here, because you're going for speed, it's really important that you end up with untapped lands. I still do have 2 Fields of Ruin to take out special lands, and I do have the 1 Restless Spire, which could come in handy, because you can turn that into a creature. The only thing that can come in tapped besides the Restless Spire is 4 copies of Storm-Carved Coast, and I'm counting on the fact that that won't kill me. However, we're taking the price of a damage to get a Shivan Reef out so that we can get an untapped land for a change and make sure that we hit the color that we need, because that's so important. So the trade-off in life points should be worth it in terms of the speed that we get out of this. And again, I don't usually do that with the lands. I don't think you can find many other deck lists out of the last 50 that I've done that have a Pain Lands in them. So I'm very much going opposite the way I usually do things. And with that, let's go in. We'll test this out some more. There's quite often, if I have more than 2 5-drops in a deck, I get punished. I'll get the most expensive card in my hand, or maybe both of them, and I won't get enough land to cast them for the entire match. And in 5, 6, 7 turns, game's over. Or, we may get to turn 8 and I finally get a land, and it's too late to do anything, right? So that happens to me a lot. And heaven forbid, sometimes if I go and get a 3rd spell that costs more than 5. But I still want to do it. I still like going big in Magic the Gathering. I've always liked doing that. And I think that's just because I have a tendency that, if you've done the mono-red aggro thing once, you've been there, done that. There are a couple of different deck configurations. So you can use some different cards. You can get put together, 3, 4 decks. But how much can I play those every single time? I'm not going to use Consider just yet. Infantry's good. Carrying coal mines, see what kind of removal they have. Oh, wow. That feels good. Let's go ahead and use Consider now. Another land. I'm going to throw that in the graveyard because it's a Pain Land. And we'll get something else. And we draw First Blood. And this is a multicolored deck. Looks like at least 4 colors, probably 5. And we do have to worry about board wipes. So we're going to hold up the negate, and that's why I have 4 negates in here. Board wipes can really destroy an aggro deck. I mean, they can just end everything. I have personally lost track of the number of times I have cast a 4-cost board wipe, and the opponent just immediately scoops. And that's, it's like, okay, we're done. That's all we're going to do. And they're not doing anything now. I mean, they just passed. 5 mana. Is there Wandering Emperor anywhere? No? A Cathartic Pyre. They're going to discard instead. I'm going to allow that. Ooh, it's one of those decks. They want to bring out Atraxa. They're gonna be very disappointed with us. There's some more black mana. So they probably have the resurrection spell now, right? No, they just have Brotherhood's End. Okay, well, we'll just save our guys then. We'll pump them all up with that spell. They don't have blue, right? They're going to do 3 to Electrostatic. I could have saved him with Galvanic Iteration, but that's okay. Where's your... Did they just not get the blue in all of their lands so far? Okay, so we passed that. It's my turn. This is just, like, lovely. They don't even wait for it. They just assume that with a handful of 5 spells, we've got them. Well, you know, there's extra gratification from playing the aggro decks every now and then, because I lose to Atraxa a lot. Turns out to beat Atraxa, all you need is some birds, some dwarves, and some monks. Should I? Hello. Alright, we've got so many 1-drops. I feel bad hitting them right away after I just said hello, sometimes. But you know, then they play things like Sleep Cursed Fairy and I get over it. You're gonna play a 3/3 on your first turn with a 1-drop? You deserve everything that's coming to you. All likenesses, everything that I felt for you is gone. Okay. They can't stop us there. And hopefully they don't have a Path of Peril in the next turn. They shouldn't, right? Because they've got all these 1/2 drops themselves. They might be able to remove one. Uh-oh. I'm not getting land. See what happens. Okay, they've got something. They got some removal. And now a Sleep Cursed Fairy, which this can become a copy of, right? If they want to. Which would also have Ward 2, which would mean I cannot affect that. So what am I going to do? I think if we do this, we're going to have all these triggers. I'm looking for a land. I'll take the land. That is useful. And then we just go in for an attack. Because that's 8. Okay. Next. Who do you block? You block there. Let me just go straight to face then. Oh, they can only activate that as a sorcery. And they go digging for help. Trigger, trigger, trigger. Oh, that's gonna be lethal already. Ouch. That was only turn 4, and I only had 3 lands. How can this be the same game? I might have to take this one into ranked. What usually happens for the newer players that haven't subscribed yet, I usually win 3-4 games in a row in Arena, and I'm convinced the deck is good, and then I go into Ranked, and then I get land starved, and they get perfect mana curve, and I'm facing Shieldred on turn 4, and all of that kind of stuff. These are the Jurassic Park lands. And I do not have removal. We bring out Aeroth now. And I'm just going to pass the turn. I'm hoping as a 2-4 it can last for a little bit. That Quirion Beastcaller can scale up quite nicely. Okay, so we'll go ahead and play the land. We'll go. Oh, hang on. I've got Galvanic Iteration, and I've got Electrostatic Infantry. Okay, so let's try this. We'll pump that up. We'll play the Abrade. We'll try for the Beastcaller. Trigger, trigger. They don't have a 1-white spell to save anything, so we double up, and that's what Galvanic Iteration can do early on. And we get 5 points already. And 2 creatures removed. And that was most of what we had. We had no more damage spells. You know, we didn't have a lot. They still had a chance if they'd had any decent cards, but sometimes when you leave them with that impression, they don't even want to try. I would tend to try myself. I tend not to quit. The only thing that makes me quit when I'm not recording is if they're going to land starve me. Like if I'm playing a deck and I know that I need about 6 lands to make it work, and it's turn 4 and I'm still stuck on 2 lands, depending on what mood I'm in, I might just scoop. But if I've got the land, and I've got the chance, I've got the prospect of top decking something good, there is usually something good in my deck. And this is why I don't mind having 4 Storm-Carved Coasts, because even if I get something at the beginning, I'm not always guaranteed to have a 1-drop. So that kind of works. I can still have a little bit of land that I can risk coming in tapped throughout, sprinkled throughout the deck to make sure I get both colors, but nowhere near as heavily as I do with any other decks. And which way do I go about this? Surveil 1. I will take the play with fire. Their creature dies, and I can still afford to bring out Balmor, although it's going to cost me a point of damage. I'll take it. Now I'm vulnerable, right? I'm all tapped out, and they could have something. Ossification is very popular these days. Prison sentence instead. Okay. And we're still gonna put out our stuff. So even on life, I got 2 creatures. Phyrexian Vindicator. I don't think I can beat that. It takes care of all damage, right? Do I have... I don't. So I pass. I didn't include any bounce spells. Well, we can try and get rid of everything else, can't we? Maybe you can just knock them out from afar. That's a problem. Now the Vindicator has Vigilance. And they can just run on through. Okay, I guess we pass. I guess we let them hit us. Okay, I'm gonna let that go. Tough call. All tapped out again. Gonna hurt. They could have us beat just with the Phyrexian Vindicator. Alright, so if we do 2 there. And we do... I don't have enough land. Who cares anymore? Cares anymore? Auto pay. Take my own damage. Duh. Surveil again. Don't need a land. And we have 5, 6. I guess there's nothing left to do. We're gonna die anyway. Got him down to 5. Not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, on-curve Mythic Rare Phyrexian Vindicator, that is a way to stop us. Blue does have a lot of things that they can do against that, but I didn't program that into this deck. We were geared towards speed. So maybe there's a consideration instead of a bunch of negates, you could do something else. Counter creature spells, bounce spells, spells that copy them, spells that neutralize them. Do you not have another creature? You do. We have 4 creatures already. Okay. We'll see who does what here. Looks like mono red aggro again. They are prepared. And I wish I could say that it's just because we're running mono red aggro that this is happening. Yeah, there's on the curve squeeze. I think I'm in trouble now. I'm the one that's going to die here. We can get rid of Squee at least. They definitely have the advantage. course, they also got to go first.
Don't think a fancy dress means I didn't come here to fight.
And let's see, to get Squee out, they need to exile 4 cards, right? So they've already got 2 of the 4. And it's kind of weird to watch this kind of hesitation in mono red. Usually if you're playing mono red, you know what to do. There's not a lot of choices there. They hoarded their land drop for a while. And they emptied their hand. Why did it take so long for them to figure out that they should do this stuff?
We should all follow our hearts.
This is gonna hurt. So what's left for me to do here? No, I can only have one of those out at a time. That gives trample, right? Okay, so we got rid of a token and we got rid of a planeswalker.
Ugh. Next time, I'll wear more comfortable shoes.
What can they do, like 6 points of damage on this next attack? And they can get Squee out if they want. They go for Squee. Can't blame them. And I got a duplicate Battlemore, which is not good for me. I can't do 20 points of damage in the next turn. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to draw enough stuff to take that out. As you can see, sometimes we get the better of mono red aggro, and sometimes they get the better of us. A lot of it, I think, just depends on who goes first. Which is also another reason why I like the mid games and the longer games better. You feel like there's more chance for possibility of skill. Whereas when you're down to these lightning fast rounds, it's just like, oh, they went first. I guess I'm dead. So is this all it is when you get an aggro deck? I'm not even in ranked, but this is all that we're going up against. I guess that's the channel that we opened up. I mean, maybe I can't complain. This is what I made the deck. But usually I come up against a lot of mono red decks when I make other stuff. Land or Monster's Rage? Well, they're taking a long time to think about it. They took the land. Do you think they have another haste attacker? Since they took the land, I kind of think they do. Uh-huh. Squeeze is very popular. So is Velden. Very standard stuff going on here. Let's hope they don't have a second Squee in a row. All I did was draw more land. I only have one Reckless Impulse in this entire deck. But we're already at a 50% spell to land ratio. And here's another one with haste. Don't usually see Daybreak Madness. Let's go ahead and try this. Pass the turn. Their matching us on the land drops. Another Feldon. Five? Dang. Pick up Feldon then. Ouch. The problem is now they can bring out Squee, right? Yeah, they got plenty to bring out Squee. And you're seeing some of the benefit of mono red versus this deck. Although, if we had more creatures, I think, up front, we would have had a better chance. And I should have negated that probably, but we just got lands. I can turn that into a blocker, I guess. I don't think they can channel that from exile. They can only play it as a land. A Shivan Devastator for 6. Never mind, we got our... And funny enough, this is close to the mono red deck that I tend to use when I go into ranked, actually. But it used to be like 70% win ratio. And I think now it's like under 50%. But it did good against us there. Let's go one more and just see if we make a deck like this. Is this all there is now? Is just versus mono red aggro? That may be another reason why I don't really want to make a bunch of aggro decks, because I do like a little variety. I make about somewhere around 225 decks a year. I like a little variety. This is just one deck of the year I'm going to make. But do I really want to face like 10 to 20 mono red aggro decks? Okay. We got something different. Yay! Toxic stuff. Gross. This kind of the one thing we don't normally want is to have the exact same creature, the exact same legendary creature right in a row, but if we just use them as a chump blocker against the Death Touch at the very beginning. And we'll put out the next one. I only have 2 copies of Aeroth. The nice thing about Aeroth is, if I put Aeroth out, I might have a good chance of getting my land drops. Because I just missed one. And you should expect to miss 1 or 2 in this deck, because there's only 21 lands. But remember, this is the most expensive thing I will ever have to cast. And now we have the negates ready. And we keep 2 mana open for a negate. because black's going to have lots of removal. Like that. Ooh. That's handy. We've got enough time to use this next turn, but we've also got a negate in case they have a second Gix's command, which has happened to me before. They've got 6 energy. They can cast almost any spell in their entire deck. I can't stop a Phyrexian Obliterator. Yeah, that's just like the Vindicator. Just for black instead of white. So, what are we going to do? Are we back to going over their head? Okay, let's see. These 2. Points of damage. 5, 6, 7. That would be if I attack now. I wouldn't be able to kill my opponent. However, if they have removal, I'm tapped out and can't use the negate. But I had so many resources there. They didn't want to lose the Obliterator? They should have, because then I would have had to sacrifice everything, right? Do they have another... They just do... Oh, they are fighting, right? Okay, so either way... I think you could have just fought the one. Alright, we're back to single mana spells. That's just foul play right there. They have 2 fight spells and the Takenuma already. That is so messed up. Okay, we're ready for another... No, we don't have blue. Interesting how Arena finds these things, right? These are some of the things that stop mono-red aggro. And again, not in ranked. But there was a second Gix's command, so they have every spell that they need, really. Yeah, I can't stop any of that. Interesting, we started off just massacring everybody really quick. And then as soon as Arena took the temperature of the new deck I made, let's throw you against some mirror matches against mono-red aggro that will completely decimate you and make you question why you bothered to put blue in your deck at all. And why did we freeze? And let's go put up obliterators and stuff like that. The mythic rare 4 on turn 4 perfect mana curve type stuff for white, black, whatever. Again, this is normally stuff that I only encounter in ranked. Mostly encounter in ranked. It feels like I'm playing ranked. It feels like ranked is just infected standard play at this point. You don't have a 1-drop, so that's okay to put down. Arr, pirates. I see your winged... What is that? A pirate? I raise you a winged wizard. Okay, have a sec. Alright. Okay, fine. These people are blue. They're gonna take a while. No way. What in the world? That's it? That's all it takes to make you quit? So either I come up against something that Arena is virtually guaranteed is gonna beat me, like a pure white or pure black 4-turn mono white or mono perfect mono curve mythic rare, or a mono red aggro, or you guys just aren't going to play with me. Yeah, that may be why it's not the best idea to make these decks. I mean, it's okay for one night. It's okay to do this once in a while. I don't think I'd want this to be my everyday experience. For those whose favorite color is red, are these the type of decks that you play every day? I don't grind to Mythic Rare. I don't bother to put in the time. I've got a full-time day job, so I've heard about the hours that it takes to grind into Mythic Rare. I don't want to be doing that. I think we just keep gearing up. And this is kind of fun to play. Ouch. That has haste. They do not attack. I still do not have the land. Let's get some triggers going. Still missed my land. You little pukes. That's a good way to make sure I lose. And they gave me 2 extras. Yeah, you can't miss this many land drops when you're going up against the dinosaurs. They made the dinosaur synergies way too strong. They're not even bothering to attack. They're just not even bothering. They know they've got it. They know already this is hopeless for me. Whenever one or more non-token creatures you control die, they just get a dinosaur token. And there's another fight spell. They just happen to have the 2 tail swipes just handy, just when they needed them. Stop anything going over the head. They're playing very conservative. They're not taking anything for chance. probably need to. They got everything they need. We need a little bit more land. We do need more than 3 for this deck. Yeah, that's not helpful. See, I need 2 for Galvanic Iteration and 3 for Volt Charge. So, yep, we're hopeless there. 6 lands against 3. So you're kind of doomed if you do and doomed if you don't sometimes. Our deck costs 1.7 for the average mana cost. But you do need things in a certain order, and you need a certain variety. You need a certain number of creatures, you need a certain number of spells, you need a certain number of lands. And maybe it's time to play against type and just put in 1 Field of Ruin and put in an extra island, just because that keeps happening. Like, maybe the games aren't supposed to last long enough for me to care about using Field of Ruin. Okay, they get to see, what do they not like? Artifact or creature card? Which creature are you afraid of? They don't want another. Okay, well, I guess I put down 1 more of these then, if those are the ones you don't like. Okay, we are all set up now to start using our spells and pumping everybody up. And this is when they start to kill our creatures. So that doesn't affect the other one on the graveyard, but they can go through our deck and get the final one. Galvanic Iteration. Good to pump. Do this while they're tapped out. Straight to the face. Take 1 damage for paying for it. Trigger, trigger, trigger. Another one. No. 1, 2, 3. No, I don't need that land now. Notice it was the 2nd Field of Ruin. A Braid might not be bad, right? Artifact? Oh, look at that. What a coincidence. There's no more Shieldred? Everybody's just playing... Wait, why did I... Oh, shoot. The cat's on my keyboard. Hang on. That can't attack. You can go ahead and attack. Shoot. I guess we're doing this. Oh, that should win the game, actually, right? Okay, so they were actually too slow to get the Obliterator out. I'm gonna hit with Balmor Battlemane Captain. Oh, never mind. The extra play with fire. Okay, so there's kind of the combo of using the cheap spells with Galvanic Iteration. You can really get... Hang on, let me get into the graveyard here. Hey. Oh, we use the flashback, so that goes into exile. Yeah, Galvanic Iteration can really get you some early wins sometimes. Here, just you can see turn 5, was it right? Did they get to go first? And we got 4 lands out. And that works pretty good. But yeah, even there, Arena's still putting us up against the 4-turn, the 4-cost Mythic Rare Phyrexian Horrors. The only thing we didn't see that I normally see in Ranked is Shieldred. Alright, I completely lost track of how many we won and how many we lost. I think we lost more than we won. So, again, because I don't do this a lot, I mean, I do it in ranked, probably not as much as I was. Last year, I was probably playing ranked every other day, just 2 or 3 matches. So that was kind of what you saw there. Kind of matched my experience, minus the Shieldred. There was a lot more Shieldreds always, but that kind of matched what my experience was on ranked, even at the lower levels. And they always had that stuff. You know, the mono red aggro was always on curve. The Phyrexian obliterators and other types of Phyrexian horrors were always on curve. The Shieldreds were always on curve. Or just like maybe one turn later. Or if you did get rid of one of them, because my mono red aggro deck can take out a couple of those and still keep going. They just put a second one out that's his exact copy the very next turn. So you really felt like Arena was against you and that type of thing. For those of you that play this aggro a lot, is this matching your experience? I want to know. And are you getting a good win percentage when you take these out to ranked, or even here on regular standard? What's your win percentage like? Is it over 50%? Because I don't think we hit 50% just tonight. Even though we kind of did what traditionally Arena has let us do. I made a new deck. Took it out the first couple of times. We got easy wins. It appeared to be awesome, right? Awesome deck. Everything's working great. Everything's firing. And then it's like, oh, Arena woke up and said, these people created a new deck. We should go teach them a lesson. And then I think we mostly lost after that for the rest of this. So, I don't know. The Shivan Reeves did their job, I think. So I think that's the right call. Maybe you go ahead and ditch one or both of the Field of Runes so that you have even less issues of not finding the right color that you need early up front. Because I think we still had that problem in 1 or 2 games. And maybe you go back to 61 cards and get another land in just to make sure you get the land you need after all. Because that's what Reckless Impulse... Reckless Impulse is kind of there to replace 2 of the lands because it's so cheap. Because you only need 3 or 4 to get everything working. Maximum 5, and but there we'd use it and we'd draw 2 lands, and I don't know, do we just take out Reckless Impulse and put in another land, and just because usually when you draw the Reckless Impulse and you get 2 lands, you're going to be able to play one of them and the other's going to be exiled, right? So is it really worth it for having the Reckless Impulse in there if you're only going to have the one? I don't know. Open to suggestions because I don't do these aggro decks quite that often. But I did enjoy Aeroth. I think Aeroth is really good for drawing the 2 cards and making sure you have better odds than normal of hitting one of your land drops with those if you didn't get it on your regular, on your regular 1 draw. You can still get Landstar. If you do get Aeroth down and the fact that you're drawing 2 cards, they're in exile. You may lose something, but you're playing so fast you don't really have to worry about what cards you're losing. Right, so but that does give you extra odds of hitting your land drop when you need it, I think. So I like the idea of including Aeroth in here. And as I said, I didn't. I know there's similar decks that I've gone up against, and there's probably some YouTube content about this style of deck. I know I've seen something before with somebody packing 4 of the Iconoclasts into one deck and that kind of thing. And I know this has got to be a popular combo with using Balmor and the infantry. But I haven't been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately, so I didn't consult any other deck list before I made this, so I'm not sure how close I am to what other people are doing for the most part, or how much this diverges. But as always, leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll try some new experiment next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.